before you. I would like to take note that this is a historical moment because Councillor Patterson actually put something on the agenda prior to the actual meeting, which is 6.1. But taking note of that, I would ask, because the chief has got much more things to do than watch us for the whole of this meeting, if we could consider moving 6.1 to the area of 3, because 3.1 is not happening tonight. All those in favor of the agenda as amended? Opposed? Motion carried. You do, too. Councillor Arnett, you moving the minutes of the Municipal Services Committee meeting?
No, I think we got the agenda approval before I could do what Councillor Patterson didn't do.
You didn't notice that?
Just add on to new business a very brief discussion on garden suites.
Does anybody have any objections to garden suites being on the agenda? Seeing none, agenda stands as amended. Minutes of the Municipal Services Committee meeting of February 19th. Mayor Stone, Councillor Patterson, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Now we're moving to 6.1, which is fire rescue, traffic control. Councillor Patterson, there is nothing in your package, but we do have the chief here today. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Not that mic, that mic.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to state that this has got nothing to do with our fire rescue personnel, the volunteers that spend a lot of time working for the community. My concern is I attended as a picture taker, an accident on the highway about a month ago where a car left the road, ended up on the railroad tracks, and I got a phone call, so I went down to take some pictures for the local paper, and I was down there for approximately 2 hours. The occupant of the car had already been removed and taken by ambulance to the hospital. According to fire personnel, there didn't appear to be serious injury. The tow truck was trying to get the vehicle out of there, and our fire rescue personnel were doing a great job. Nothing against them, but all they were doing was acting as traffic control personnel. My concern is the cost to our community of our fire rescue personnel being traffic control. My understanding is we do not get reimbursed for it. If highways and ICBC want us to do that, if we get called out, first of all, they get called out to assist with ambulance, which is a good thing. But if they're going to spend over 2 hours directing traffic and we don't get reimbursed for it, I feel that highways should be in charge of doing traffic control themselves. Once the issue of injuries is looked after at the accident scene, our people should go unless the citizens of this community and other communities get reimbursed for it.
Thank you. But you invited the chief here for a reason?
I didn't invite him.
No, Your Worship. This is loud. I invited the chief in case there's questions for the chief.
Thank you. Sorry, chief. So, Councillor Patterson, did we not have an earlier discussion at a previous meeting about this, and we received advice from staff that this council has at least taken this initiative to AVICC on more than one occasion?
And that's why I was a little surprised to see it on here, your chairmanship.
You didn't put it on here? I just congratulated you for putting it on here. You didn't put it on here?
So.
Just trying to get some kudos.
Okay, I was hoping you were leading to a motion that because there is some new faces in Victoria, and that somewhere along the line we should address this at perhaps AVICC, maybe not this year, but UBCM is coming up, and it's not too late for UBCM if it is too late for AVICC.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, when I first sent the email to the town staff is as a point of discussion, and wasn't aware that it already had been discussed at AVICC, and at the previous meeting we had talked about possible resolutions to go to AVICC. is because I don't believe we're the only municipality that is being hosed by highways, that we could make this a resolution to take it forward, but it already has been addressed. I don't see a problem with taking it forward again or even moving it forward to UBCM.
Thank you. I have a question of the chief before I go to the Mayor Stone. Chief, the number of hours, have you ever calculated the number of hours that your volunteers spend dealing with traffic control on our highway in a year? Or is it?
Well, it really depends, because I think we're blowing out of proportion here by saying it's traffic control. It is not traffic control, it's scene safety. Involving all the first responders in the area, police, ambulance personnel, or the general public driving by. The fire department's got a liability that when we come on scene like that, to make sure that these procedures are there and responsibilities are dealt with, to make sure it's safe for people, not only us, people drive through the area, and unfortunately sometimes these incidents involve injuries. Sometimes is vehicles that are torn across the highway in pieces, or obstructing traffic. So the only mandate is for scene safety. There's the fire department. The RCMP cannot do traffic because they usually have to respond and get out of the area pretty quick, so they can't do it. BC Ambulance Service, they don't do it. We protect them. That's why we're there. I think in reality it's a duty, one of our duties that we do on the highway. Regarding them as a car fire, pedestrian struck on the highway, a gas leak, anything like that, we're going to do traffic control. Inside the town, anywhere in our boundary, we're going to do that. We're not asked to do traffic control. We just do it to protect people. And that's the bottom line there. And sometimes, unfortunately, like Doug was saying there, it takes time for a tow truck to get there because there might be tied up somewhere else, or the towing job might take a couple hours to do. We have to make sure everybody's gone. The injuries, get them out of there quickly. The vehicle's still there, but it could, if they're dragging it out over embankment, could rip the fuel tanks open, could catch fire. So we're there to make sure that these things don't happen. If they do happen, that we can deal with them very quickly. Like I say, most of the car accidents we deal with, we're not there more than just over an hour. Definitely, and again, like you say, it comes down to every job duty we do in this community, regardless of a structure fire, gas leak. We always have to maintain our safety, and the worst thing that's going to happen out there, and it will happen, and we had close calls out there where the general public doesn't stop for us, or they're not looking. So we are very, very, we do our vigilance on it. We make sure traffic's very highly dealt with with our fire department, make sure it's safe for our guys, because it's people just don't slow down for us out there.
Thank you. Councillor Councillor Patterson.
Again, Your Worship, it's not the job that our local fire rescue personnel or other community fire rescue personnel are doing. To me, it's a cost to the taxpayer. And as Chief Delcourt stated, there, for safety, and if at times our fire rescue personnel could be potentially at risk because of the unsafe practices of the driving public, then it's another good reason why highways, ICBC, whatever powers be, send proper, authorized, professional traffic control people to attend these accidents. And so the safety of our firefighters isn't put at risk. But the reason I brought it up is there is a cost to this community of our citizens, volunteer citizens, doing this, and we're not getting reimbursed for protecting the highway and protecting the drivers on the highway.
Thank you. But out of courtesy to the chief, could we not start the debate on the matter until we've finished questions of the chief? So, do you have a question of the chief in there?
Well, it would be how many hours do we spend, because I know we get called out on others.
So, Your Worship, maybe I can. The chief and myself are working in creating that estimate for council, and when we have that information, we'll provide it.
Just one comment on that: Actually, we have like a time frame that we deal with on the highway. If we're going to be there an extended amount of time, we get hold of MCON and ask for their flaggers and that kind of stuff. The average response by them to be there is typically about an hour. Can't be longer for them to get their flaggers and that kind of stuff to the area, that kind of stuff. Yeah, we considered, and again, like I say, if we know we're going to be there for duration time, we do that. And again, like I say, there's a window there. It takes a long time for them to get there, but in the meantime, we have to maintain the safety because under our emergency operation stuff we have to maintain that safety for at least 2 hours until we're relieved by some other company or whatever to get that safety back up again. So it's legal action and that kind of stuff. If something does go wrong there, and we pack up and leave, we would hit the full circumstances of punishment for that. So we don't do that. We make sure it's safe.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councillor Freed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question was to the chief with respect to on the mutual aid responses and our groups going out. Do you have a time frame of how many hours we've actually had to do traffic control on a mutual aid call? And what my question to that is, if it's an extended long time, perhaps there's some way we could maybe relook at our policies with respect to saying, advising people on a mutual aid that we would require some sort of payout from another community because their group's getting paid, but our group's not getting paid.
Yeah,
anyway,
we actually do not do mutual aid traffic. We've never been asked to do mutual aid traffic. Any mutual aid that we deal with the North Oyster or Chemainus, whatever, we're there to fight fire and that kind of stuff. Traffic is not on our agenda. We had a structure fire just this side of Laguna Bridge 2 months ago. And because we had to shut down the highway with the hydrant going across the road, we actually had Chemainus doing traffic for us until the RCMP got there. So as for Ladysmith ever doing traffic, we never dealt with that on the aspect of that. But we did, 2 weeks ago, we did have a auto launch for the BC Ambulance Service just south of Porter's Farm, and we actually had to do traffic for the helicopter landing. Different thing, but again, like I say, it's very rare that we did that. And it was right on the boundary of Ladysmith and door caution fire. So again, like that's the only time we've ever done traffic to, again, like I say, anything that's out of we don't have mutual aids. If we go to logging road, that kind of stuff, we do anything up there, we get money back from the government on that. They do pay us money back for that. Group have never. Okay.
Mayor Stone, you have a question of the chief? I know you, okay. Councillor Arnett, do you have a question of the chief?
Just to clarify, Chief, so have we found ourselves in that situation regularly enough that we might get another call and it's caused problems in terms of responding, or?
If we're out of mutual aid?
Yeah.
Or, usually what happens there, the Ladysmith helping Chemainus on a mutual aid, like structure fire last week down there, they had down there. And what we do, we don't have proper manning in the town of Ladysmith. We'll actually bring North Oyster, our prevailing fire department, to the north, sitting in our area to make sure that we have proper coverage on the aspect in our community. If we don't have proper coverage in our community, that truck actually leave our community. If we're short, we'll keep that truck here. We just have to have somebody else come in from mutual aid. But we really watch out to make sure we have people in our community to respond. So yeah, there's plans for that.
Chief, I know that you and the CAO are going to give us some definitive numbers, but just based on your memory of the last 2 or 3 years, is this an issue for us? Like 10 years ago or 12 years ago, we took it to the AVICC or supported a resolution to the AVIC because there was a call actually across the CVRD because it seemed to have something happened, that there was an increase in activity on the highway or something. And so at this time, is it something that is depleting your budget or increasing the costs?
Well, I don't think it is because it's like we're no different than any other fire department of the island. For the Caution Valley, I actually got a minute. I did have exactly how many calls they had during the 2017, their car accidents, how many they had. I'll be real quick on it. Chemainus had 46, Caution Bay had 67 MVIs, Crofton 26, Duncan 27, Ladysmith 51, Lake Caution had 16, Mel had 35, Mill Bay 52, North Oyster had 29, Satlam 23, Shotgun Lake 31, and South End, which is North Caution, they had 45 of them. So there is a lot of car accidents, the fire departments are called out in our Calgary Valley Regional District in a year. So I think it's like something, if there is consideration, I think we should be dealing with all the other CBRD fire departments or management people like our councils and see if you get a group together or something like that, because there is quite a few in the Calgary Valley. And I guess what we're saying is people are saying we're going to have ICBC should be paying for it, because we are doing their part. They're paying for the tow trucking, they're paying for the ambulance service, whatever else, but or MCON too, but they're not paying for the fire service being there. So that's something that a possibility should be looked into.
Thank you. You have a question, Councillor?
Not a question.
Okay, I have Mayor Stone, who is next on the speakers list.
Well, I'm wondering if as the chief just said, that we should maybe refer this to the CVRD to look and see if it would be appropriate for the entire CVRD to make a resolution to UBCM asking for some action on, providing scene safety throughout the regional district. Like, based on the numbers that the chief just read to us, this is obviously a bigger issue than just in Ladysmith. And I noticed in those numbers the two highest areas may be the two highest concern areas on our highway in the Mid-Island, which was Mill Bay, where that congestion point and the high speeds are, and Ladysmith, where the congestion point and the high speeds are. So I think it kind of plays into another conversation that we're having around highway speeds and safety throughout the corridors here. But I wonder if it would be appropriate to make, at this committee, a referral to the CVRD, or if that would have to go to council to. So I would recommend to council that council refer consideration of submitting a resolution to UBCM for incident scene safety and traffic control cost recovery services rendered on provincial and federal roadways.
For a second for that, Councillor Patterson. Pretty straightforward.
So refer to CBRD, you said?
Well, we got to refer it to council.
Oh,
recommend to council that council refer to the CBRD.
13 communities speaking out, representing 17 fire departments would be a little more powerful than us. Yeah.
And the numbers would be, I think, that much more impactful.
Any debate on that resolution? Calling the question. All those in favor? No opposed? Unanimous. Chief, thank you so much.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, next one up is the Vancouver Island-wide inter-community business license. And there's a recommendation on the front page of your agenda.
Can I ask a question before we discuss a resolution?
You can. Mayor Stone.
So in the report, the recommendation, at least the bylaw refers to raising the business license fee to $170.
So this is, it would be up from $150 to $170, yes.
And that would be a Vancouver Island-wide business
Yes,
license.
it is. So at this point, we're just trying to get feedback from the municipalities who are currently in the program to see if they will open it up to other municipalities down, mostly in the southern part of the island, to make it a Vancouver Island-wide mobile business license.
Thank you.
Councillor Arnett and Councillor Patterson.
I read this one with great interest, and so I'd like to move the motion.
And 1 and 2?
1 and 2.
Just Councillor Mayor Stone
And
is
just say
seconding.
in terms of I guess the undercutting of red tape and facilitating good business practice, that I would fully support this recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Patterson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question. How would this, or would there be any effect on our contribution to the Chamber of Commerce? Because the business license fees.
Correct. So this, it's not anticipated that this will affect too many businesses in Ladysmith. So you're still going to have your regular $100 storefront businesses, which is the bread and butter for supporting the Chamber of Commerce. This is going to be just hitting I wouldn't even want to even guess. It wouldn't be that many. Yes, so we just actually had a scenario where we had a consultant who is working from Victoria, came to Ladysmith and took out a business license specifically for their work here. But that person does do work elsewhere on the island, so we can understand that that person probably will not next year take out a Ladysmith specific business license. So maybe, like, there's just going to be a handful of those.
Mayor Stone.
I just want to make a quick comment. The money goes to support the visitor center, not the Chamber of Commerce. The contract is with the Chamber of Commerce, but I think it's an important distinction because that's important. Also, I'd like to say that I think that there's been a lot more discussion in our community from businesses looking to locate here about the strategic position of our community between the larger communities of the Nanaimo Regional District and the Cowichan Regional District. And myself, I know that we provide services in the Nanaimo area all the way south to Shawnigan Lake, up as north as far as Qualicum. So I can see that value as having a portable business license that allows you to take advantage of that. But at the same time, those who just have a storefront business will still have that local business license available to them. So I think that for us strategically, it's an excellent initiative to support, because if you want to have that transportation access that you have with the Nanaimo Airport, aka the Ladysmith Airport, and the Duke Point Ferry Terminal, which most of the freight comes over, so businesses like mine, we get our overnight shipments at ground rates, often for free from the mainland because of that proximity. I think a portable business license like that allows you to access the greater markets is another advantage in an RCAP, to be honest, so I'll be supportive of that.
Any other discussion? No questions of staff? Calling the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Building inspector's report. Wow, I like the colors. The new explanation. Is this to stop inane questions being asked of staff, or just to...
No, Your Worship, Mr. Chair, it's just to clarify where those numbers are coming from.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So you have before you the building inspector's report of February 28th. Mayor Stone is moving.
Yep.
Receipt, seconded by Councillor Henderson. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Ladysmith Fire Rescue reports for October, November, and December. Mr. Manager, do we have to do these? Can we do these all at once?
We can do it all at once. Yeah.
Mayor Stone moving October, November, and December. Seconded by Councillor Frayden. Any discussion on those? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. And the last report, Coastal Animal Control Services report for October, November, and December, page 21 to 23. Councillor Annette is moving. Seconded by Councillor Patterson. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to financial plan, grant and aid. Did you want to take a few moments to introduce this before we start, or? I understand in the budget we have about $58,000 allocated.
Yes.
And our total requests are for?
Oh, total requests were
119,000 and change.
Yeah.
Is that the change?
113. 123, 300.
123.
So I have it up onto the screen there, line by line. So as you give me your numbers, I can get the mode, which is the most often incurring amount.
So, we have the complete binder here. I know most of you have read it or read it thoroughly. Can I get Mayor Stone, if there's any questions, could you be the reader if necessary? Sure. Councillor Henderson.
We were provided with some sheets to make our notes on, and there's some discrepancies between those sheets and the one that is in the agenda.
Yes, I apologize. There's a number at the bottom on the for $250.
Yes,
$2,500.
the $2,500 turning into a $5,000 difference, and there was another one where there was a juxtaposition between. Let me see where it is. Oh yes, the St. Philip's Anglican Church, where they had 1,000 last year and want 500. It's actually the other way around in the binder.
Binder's asking for 1,000. My apologies on that.
So St. Philip should read in the first column 500, the second column 1,000.
Yes.
And the Mid-Island Soccer is simply 2,500.
The Mid-Island Soccer is a request for the trolley usage. So we actually do not know what that dollar value is, and I didn't know. I wanted to have council aware that usually the waiving of fees is what takes account for the trolley rental. So that one event could eat up a lot of the waiving of the fees. So that's why they're sitting, like I tried to highlight the fact that they're two requests that are kind of going for the same dollar value if council wishes.
I'm sorry, the difference says
And you see where it's waiving of the fees, it's actually written down as 2,500 is the difference.
There at the bottom. Yeah. So what he's saying is that usually the 2,500 trolley rentals, it's just that because the Mini World Cup is a whole weekend long event, there's some thought that that might eat up that 2,500, so staff was just giving us the option to keep the waiving of fees, but then allocate 2,500 specifically for the Mid-Island Soccer Trolley.
I think the last one was.
So I just don't quite understand the math. We rent that trolley out at $75 an hour.
It was $100 an hour, minimum 4-hour rental.
All
We
right.
don't know how long that's going to be
Usually
used.
Mid-Island is a full day at least.
So if it's 8 hours
It
of
was 2
soccer,
days,
16 times 100 is only $1,600.
1,600, yes, and overtime, I didn't know how long it was going to.
I think
That's going to be.
some of those days, the days are 10 and 11 hours long.
But it's not $5,000.
No, it's not 5,000.
Okay, any other corrections? Okay, we're going to go around table here. Councillor Arnett, you're starting off with the Ladysmith Festival Lights.
Wait a minute.
I am president of the Festival Lights till the next meeting, so,
How do you know that till the next meeting?
because I told them that's it, I'm done. So I will withdraw on that one.
Thanks.
Oh, you got
Don't let that comment,
Dissuade your deliberation.
yes. Councillor Arnett.
They've asked for 20 and that's for 15.
Councillor Creighton, we're going around table.
Looking at their financial statements with regards to last year and this year, it shows that they're asking for 12,000, so I would support 12,000.
I'm sorry, the request in the book is 15,000. Where'd you get 12,000?
It's in their financial, it's in their financial reports, both in 2017 and the 2018, when they show the towns, the expected amount, they put in 12. They budgeted for 12 in their
Oh.
financial statement.
And they're asking for 20.
They're asking for 15, so
Councillor Arnett, do you want to go back?
I just want to make a comment. Often nonprofits actually will go to a minimum budget to be able to operate. So sometimes that explains why you would put in 12 when more.
Okay. Councillor Friesen.
I also saw that, and I put in 12,000 because they had a balanced budget with the 12,000 in theirs. So mine's 12.
Okay, Councillor Henderson.
12.
Mayor.
Well, I'll settle on 12.
And I was going 15, so it is 12.
So can I just make a quick comment? When you read the application, it talks about they're transitioning to LED and some new decorations. And as I asked for last year, I would have liked to have seen at least an attempt to quantify what the savings are on the switch to LED. It makes it easier to justify that investment. So I'm just saying that with a smaller amount this year, they'll just buy a few less LEDs than they would maybe next year.
Yeah, of the 15, just a tremendous ongoing success, and I totally support this shift to LEDs. Ladysmith Fire Rescue, Santa Parade.
We're gonna call Mr. Patterson back. We don't have to.
Well, no, he's heavily involved with the fire rescue parade, does he? I guess he has to declare it himself.
Ask him if he wants to declare a conflict for the next several.
Yeah.
Do you have a conflict with Fire Rescue Parade?
No. We'll have show and shine, if you want to do that one now.
No, it's okay. We'll kick you out in a bit.
Okay, Councillor Creighton, you're starting off.
Thank you, you, Mr. Chair. I just a quick question to staff with regards to the Ladysmith Fire Rescue, the Santa Parade. The town supplies the vehicles for that, and there's a fuel cost associated with that. Do we have a number of what that might have been? No? Okay. I would support 1,200.
Councillor Friesen.
I also have 12.
Well,
I had 1,500.
I had 12. 12 it is. Moving on to Ladysmith Golf Society. Councillor Friesen.
I have a couple of questions on that. What their budget shows last year was a loss of $2,000, and then in 2018 they show a surplus with no GIA, like no grant and aid involved in that. So I know they've run short the last 3-4 years. So I'm in favor of giving them something, but I don't know what that number would be because, like I say, they show a deficit of $2,312 in 2017, and they don't even have the GIA in their budget for 2018, and they show a surplus.
We do have a representative of the golf club here. If you have any questions, we'll just go around table first. My understanding also is that last year they had about 300-400 hours of volunteer time running the office rather than paying a paid staff, and so that is not sustainable in terms of maintaining that.
If I might, one of the other issues I had was, because I've mentioned it a couple of times, where the town at present time, to my knowledge, cuts the grass on the rough. The golf course cuts the fairway and the greens. Is it possible for the town to look after the fairway also, and just that the way they could reduce their time for the greenskeeper and just look after the greens?
Turning you to the city manager, I think that's a question of you. Is that negotiations between staff to society?
To my knowledge, no, but we can report back. I don't have that answer right now, if we can actually take on the service or not.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question, but I also have $2,000. They pay for their own garbage disposal. We have other, and I know it's not a public building, but could we not include their garbage disposal in the towns when they're doing other town facilities? And that would save them, I think it was $900 in their budget. We absorb the cost of their garbage disposal.
So would that not be a grant and aid?
So it's $2,900. We'll absorb that and $2,000.
So what budget is coming from? Is that possible for us to entertain that?
It would be the same budget.
Yeah. Okay, you're saying 2,900. Councillor Henderson.
2,000.
Mayor Stone.
I have more questions than answers. The highlight here is that there's a sustainability issue with the organization, and although I think there was some indication that a grant and aid application should come in to talking about what the cost will be through this year to facilitate a plan that would come back to talk about the issues that are being brought up at this table to help reduce costs and make it sustainable. So either a servicing agreement with the town or a shift of responsibilities to the town so that we could absorb some of their operating costs and make them more sustainable. Unfortunately, the request that came in is light on those details, but I know the intent is to work through some of those issues. So I feel like that the conversation that we're having is the exact conversation we need to have between staff and the golf club over this year, and that we should provide some kind of bridge, forgive the pun, considering some sort of a bridge for the golf course to get to where it needs to be in the next year. So I would support $5,000 actually.
And I had $6,000 down. Councillor Net?
I looked at this and I think we should be doing everything that we can to support the golf club to remain as the community asset it has been and continues to be and could well be even more so in the future. So at a minimum, I was willing to give 25. I could go higher than that. It occurred to me when I looked at some of the things that they were requiring is that giving them some money gives them some leverage possibly if we can have the staff, town staff, support them in looking at some perhaps employment training or poverty reduction grants coming out of some of the ministries in the current provincial government, you know, in terms of maybe training front counter people or whatever it is that they might do to match some of the dollars that we give them to leverage up. And I don't know if that's possible or not, but it occurred to me that there may well be some employment training dollars that are available for something like that. I've got 2,500, but I'm willing to go up to 5,000.
So I have 3 at 2,000, 1 at 2,500, 1 at 2,900, 1 at 5,000, and 1 at 6,000. Councillor Friesen.
You don't have anything for me at this point because I didn't give you a number. Can I ask Richard a quick question?
I thought you said 2,000.
No. I just said that last year they lost 2,300.
Oh, okay.
Can I ask Richard a quick question?
You sure can. Richard,
Richard, are you
just
aware?
the podium there.
So, Richard, are you aware of the the losses we had, the golf course had the last 3 years? I know it was 2,300 last year. Do you remember what the ones were before that?
Well, the year before, we had bitten into our budget. We had a $20,000 or $15,000 lawnmower went on us. That was 7,500 or something like that. We had to redo a couple of the other, one of the other lawnmowers, and that brought us down from 20,000. Right now we've got a nest egg, for want of a better word, of about $7,000, something like that. So basically, if something goes wrong, you know, then that's going to be our shortfall, you know. I don't know if that answers your question.
Not quite. Like I say, I know for the last 3 years, when I looked at the statements that at the annual meetings, the golf course lost, like I say, last year was 2,300. The year before that, I thought was around $3,000, $4,000, and the year before that was around the same thing. So that's the question I'm asking. Do you remember what those numbers were?
No, I don't. I should have got.
But that's fine. I'm prepared to go up to 4 on this thing here.
See, last year we, I think, Mr. Hutchins had stated, you know, that we had put, I think it was something like 300 hours in, you know, and volunteer hours, which actually brought in something like $5,000. You know, so we're looking at that, but you know, you can't ask your volunteers to volunteer, you know, all the time type thing, you know. And we're at the point now, we never had got volunteers in, we'd be down another $5,000 from what we finished off this year.
Thank you. Any other questions of Richard? Councillor Net?
Well, I just want to make a comment in terms of what I've heard and understanding in broad terms how the golf course would work. It's important that operation would have some little bit of what is commonly in business put in a contingency or an extraordinary expenditure fund, and given that something like your lawnmower goes and you've got you know, a very significant bill. It's not a push lawnmower you're talking about.
No,
you're talking about something that maintains.
No, an average repair is like $2,500.
So I think it's important, if anybody's listening, to understand that.
And not only that, you know, like we've got things that have to be updated. You know, like our greens. They're kind of getting a little bit behind. They're getting long in the tooth. So we have to spend, you know, fertilizers and all that type of stuff to maintain them.
Thank you. Mayor Stone?
Yeah, this isn't a question, it's just some observations. And I think this is sort of highlights for me some of the critical issues that need to be dealt with over the next year. Under canteen revenues, it was $605 for the year. And I know I'm hearkening back to 30 years ago, but I would be surprised if they didn't do more than that in a weekend in those days. I was there, I lived there in the summer times. It was where my grandmother babysat me, but I got to see what happened there, and the amount of chips and pop and whatever that was going out of this plate was hundreds of dollars a day. And the expenses on this report for that same revenue are $450, so a year of about $10 to $12 a month in net revenue in the canteen. What that points to is serious issues with the business plan and the traffic there. And what's happening, and I've seen this happen, and I've been through it with my own business where it comes to the edge of not being sustainable anymore, is you keep sliding down that hill, and it gets to a point where really it's hardly worth it, and then you pull it out, when really if you take a fresh look at it and start over again, sometimes you can see those revenues. Split from that, so that's the conversation that needs to be had around the sustainability of the business model and what can be done from a business perspective to make it functional and workable again. How can it build up a revenue, a contingency fund that can deal with some of those issues? On the flip side of it, if this is truly a public amenity that we support, first of all, the business case here doesn't support that there's enough people going there that it is really a community asset anymore, and I'm just being blunt about the numbers. I believe it is, but something needs to be done to restore that level of respect and use within the community. Because on the flip side, you're looking at course maintenance and seed and fertilizer. Those two items are over $9,000 in their annual budget. So that goes around to this conversation about a servicing agreement. Does the town Parks and Rec take over the golf course? Or at least the maintenance of it, and cut those costs out of it to make it workable. But then really what is the golf club itself doing is doing a lot of work for about $2,500 a month in green fees. I guess about $4,000 a month in green fees. But that canteen and stuff like that really is a business opportunity lost. If it's got that much traffic, there's got to be a way to generate more revenue out of there. So like I said, I strongly support us giving a year to get that house in order. And I wish I had more time, because I feel like I can see opportunities there. I feel like if the right evangelist got in there and was out there banging the clubs together and raising that awareness and excitement about it, because I'll tell you, I've only got a chance to go out there a couple times a year in the last couple years, but every time I do, all I can say to myself is I wish I could get out more. So I think that if we can do something or help some way to raise the profile, get people back out there, get people having fun. We saw something when we see people like the Maritime Society, how they continue to grow that excitement level around their facility. If we can inject some of that energy into the golf course, I think it can do it. And that's why I said I'm willing to support $5,000 to help it happen this year. And really, it's come down to that point where I think it's down to the wire, and we got to figure out something moving forward that makes it sustainable. Either it's a community asset we believe in and the town takes it on, or the energy of that group that care about it kind of vault it up above where it is now, and it becomes successful. So I support the 5,000.
So we're all over the map, so we're going to go around the table again, but I have a question of staff, because I am, one of the challenges they have is the bridge is gone, and that vast chasm that people have to get around or through or under or whatever makes it challenging. And what I'm looking at is, in relative terms, as a community asset and as a recreational, this is our best. We have no other recreational component, to my knowledge, that is even asking to be subsidized by this minor amount. I believe we're subsidizing Parks and Rec at 75% or 70%. Would you be able to tell us offhand, we have 3 baseball diamonds, 3 baseball areas At one time I could tell you how much it costs us to maintain those baseball fields. I'm not a baseball player, but I've been told by baseball players that the number of people using Aggie Field has diminished over time. I recall significant events there in the past years where it seemed to be diminished. So it's just not this golf course that some of our activities have diminished, but we haven't changed our funding for maintaining those fields. Do you recall what it is? Sorry. Oh, okay. It's a fair amount of money. So I think this is worthy of us maintaining, so and helping it out. So we're going to go around the table again because we haven't got anybody gelling on something. We haven't got a majority on a number. 5,000. Councillor Fraden.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I just had a couple questions just with regard to again looking at that service agreement option, because I do believe that do we not give them a cut rate on the water charges too? Like no charge in water. There's no charge in water for their usage out there? Okay. So that's just another reason. But anyway, I had 4,000.
Councillor Piznan.
I'm willing to go to 5.
Councillor Patterson.
Thank you. I honestly don't see much improvement in the golf course until they can expand and move fully into the area that they're supposed to be in. And I hope that can happen sooner than later. I'll go to 5,000.
Councillor Henderson.
I'll go to 5, but I think we have to get that bridge in and that whole crossing safe
Thank you.
and appealing to older people.
Mayor Stone.
I have already said 5.
Oh, we started with Arnett, but you're repeating
Yeah.
yourself? Okay.
Yeah, I'll repeat myself.
And I still say 5. So 5 it is. Thank you very much. Ladysmith Citizens on Patrol. Councillor Patterson.
They're asking for the same as last year, 1,500. That's 1,500.
Thanks. Councillor Henderson.
15.
Mayor Stone.
1,500.
1,500. 15. Councillor Fraden.
15.
Councillor Priestley.
We'll make it unanimous.
Okay, thank you. Old English Car Club, Central Island Branch. Councillor Henderson.
250.
Mayor Stone.
250.
250. Councillor Net.
250.
Same.
50.
It is. Ladysmith District Historical Society Industrial Heritage Preservation. Councillor Mayor Stone.
Let's start with me. 7,000.
And I said 5,000.
5.
5.
This is an area that hasn't had any attention paid to it in many, many years. And we have a great asset in a group of volunteers that are willing to fix up and clean up and exhibit our heritage as far as the industrial area of it goes. And I agree with 7,000.
Thanks.
I'm going 7.
Okay, it is 7,000. Art Council of Ladysmith and District, Arts on the Avenue. 1,500. Councillor Arnett.
1,500.
I actually have 0 at this stage, mainly because in their budget they show $35,000 coming in as revenue for Arts on the Avenue, and they show $35,000 being paid to the artists, which means the artists aren't paying anything of that. And I think take a percentage of the monies raised to help pay for this.
Thank you.
1,500.
Councillor Henderson.
1,500.
Okay, 1,500 it is. Ladysmith and District Marine Rescue Society, Councillor Arnett. Councillor Fraden.
Yeah, this one, I know on their balance sheet they show that they have a lot of cash in their assets, and I just wanted to confirm that. Could you just check that, Aaron, on number 8? And
Yeah, I noticed that as well. I'll give you the numbers just so you have it. Well, there is one restricted funds. So their annual budget here shows 66,000 and 66,000 out, but on their balance sheet, it shows 72,000 in restricted funds, 72,837, and retained earnings of 367,787. But keep in mind that is a lot of those are not cash assets; those are equipment assets.
Councillor Fraden, you finished? Or do you want to answer that question, Councillor Arnett?
Well, I just, I wanted to add to the question actually, so I'll let you finish in terms of understanding that restricted.
Okay. I had 2,000.
2,000? Councillor Friesenhan?
I had one, because they showed a large cash reserve.
Same as last year, 2,500.
$1,000, provided I understand that restricted asset term.
I wonder if anybody has any more information that they might be able to share with us, because I do notice too that at the starting position for this budget this year, they did have 82,000 in cash, but then there is these retained earnings of restricted funds of 72,000. I don't know if there's a difference there or what. I don't know what that means. So there's no explanation in here at all. Yeah, there's no.
My understanding, there was the use of significant reserves, because when they have to replace a motor, it's not $5,000.
It's that contingency we were just talking about for the golf courses equipment, for example.
So I don't need to ask my question. That's the point I was going to make.
So, Mayor,
oh, now it's to me, eh? Where am I here? What was the request? I had 3,000.
And I had 2,500, so we had 2 at 3,000, 2 at 2,500, 1 at 2,000, and 2 at 1,000. The 3s want to move down, and the 2 and the 1s and the 5s want to move up. Anybody object to 2,500?
I'll go with that.
Okay, 2,500. Arts Council of Ladysmith and District Waterfront Gallery.
Sorry, can I just interject quickly? I think that we have to understand that we may have to take a second crack around at this and trim down a bit. So I just don't want to give the impression to anybody watching at home or here that this is the final number. So, because I have a feeling we're going to come to the end and still be over budget.
Sorry, Councillor Fraden, the Waterfront Gallery. 0.
I had 0 also. With the work that's going to happen there this year, the structural work that's going to be taking place, it doesn't make sense to do a lot of the things that they would like to do at this time until that work is finished. And at that point, whatever has to be done, then I can look at it then. But right now, with all that other work that's going on there, I can't see them doing anything.
City Manager, I also had that question, so I'm going to ask it now. We did receive a significant contribution to upgrade that building. Would we be advising all our tenants to be cautious on their investments until that is being resolved?
Your Worship, there's a report coming up on next week about that. I'm sorry?
When you respond to the chair, he's the chair.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Is it I don't have him from that often, so report coming to council on the 19th, and I'll make sure those questions can get answered then. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Chair. It's catching. Well, I'm used to it for too damn long. I have $1,000, and the reason being is when we were down there last week for the announcement, and there's some amazing artwork, and there's some very interesting artwork, but there's prices with each one. So all those artists are actually business people, and so they're making money from that. And my understanding that they're contributing a certain percentage to the art gallery, which is fine, because the art gallery does attract people, but it is also a business, and they receive a lot of funding, if you look at the file, from other cultural and arts sources. So I was going just with $1,000.
Councillor Henderson?
1,000.
Mayor Stone?
Just to reflect on Councillor Sparky down there, Patterson's comments. I just wanted to note that in their budget they have 8,000 for gallery art sales commissions in their budget. So it's not a significant number. Part of the reason they're successful is they do offer very low commissions. But frankly, considering the renovations that are going to be required for the building, I also had $1,000.
At 1,000? Councillor Arnett?
I had 2,000 and wasn't willing to give any more until I could get a much better handle on the 21,000 in context of some of the comments that were made. Thanks.
Okay, so 1,000 it is. Ladysmith Downtown Business Association, Councillor Friesenham.
1,500.
Patterson?
1,500.
1,500.
It's clear that this is not downtown Christmas. This is the Grand Christmas, which is the draw that the businesses use during that. It's something that the businesses have to opt into too, right? It's not just a program. Just keep in mind that there's another ask further down the page for significantly more for the old time Christmas, but I'll support 1,500 for this.
I have 1,500. Councillor Arnett?
Well, I didn't have anything because I couldn't figure out what that was, and I wanted to support the old time Christmas.
Zero.
Now that it's been explained, I would support 500.
Yes.
Sorry, I just had a question here. In their budget for Grand Christmas, they have $1,000 for prizes, but I thought those prizes were donated by the credit union. Is that not true? Because it shows here in their budget that the program total for the entire Grand Christmas promotion is $1,950. $200 for entry forms, $750 for advertisement, and $1,000 for prizes. But maybe that's changed. I know at one time the Grand Christmas win was $1,000 from the credit union, but maybe it's no longer. Yeah.
I think the prizes now are gift certificates from various merchants.
Okay, well, I'll just leave that out there. I'll stick with my thing for now.
Councillor Fraden? Okay, so we have 5 at 1,000, 4 at 1,000, 1 at 0, 1 at 500, 1 at... Sorry? Okay, 1,500, thank you. Ladysmith Show and Shine. Oh.
Patterson declares another conflict. I just have a quick question. Can we see the total on the bottom, or is that just your... Oh, it's red up at the top. Okay, there it is. It's yellow. It's in the danger zone already. Okay, thanks. It's not red quite yet.
Okay, it would have been Councillor Patterson next, so it's Councillor Henderson. Show and Shine.
Did have 500. I do have 500.
Thank you. Councillor
Stone, you're already
Mayor
kicking me
Stone.
out. I actually had 500 as well.
I had 500.
250.
5 it is. Okay, moving ahead to the Parents Committee for the Ladysmith Air Cadets. Councillor Patterson, you're starting off this one. Yes.
It is a question for staff. On this one, this is about improvements to the Air Cadets area within our town facility. Should this not be referred to Parks and Rec to work with the tenant on any required improvements or repairs to their space?
This did come through as a grant and aid It is one of the town facilities, and it would be addressed in the condition assessment that is being done through Parks and Rec. So.
Just to remind council then, we're requesting financial support to repair cracks, leveling, clean, etch, and paint basement cement floors of the Aggie Hall, lower level cadet hall, floors in desperate need of remediation, 10 years, going on and on and on. This is a maintenance issue, not a grant and aid issue. So I would just point that out to council if that, you know, when you're deliberating on the amounts.
Do you want to make a motion to refer it to staff?
Yeah, I would refer it to staff in Parks and Rec to reach out to the air cadets to work on the repairs of the floor as requested.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Ladysmith Downtown Business Association, Old Time Christmas. Mayor Stone, could you just take a look at this, because their request is for $5,000, but their overall budget is only $4,800. I wonder if that was a typo.
The
budget is right there.
Oh, the budget for the event. So $1,000 horse and carriage, $1,500 for coordinator.
Well, the total budget is $4,700.
Yeah, the total budget is $4,780, and I will point out of that, the largest single expense tied with advertising is for the coordinator.
Okay, starting off with you, Mayor Stone.
1,500.
I had 1,500.
15.
15 it is. Ladysmith Ambassadors Program.
I'm not on the committee.
He's just their chief cook and bottle washer.
Right, she just tries to complete a
Fundraiser. I'm not on the committee. Am I in conflict? Okay.
You know, it is up to you to determine that, but based on your presence at every single event and the slave labor you put in, generously give to that, I think somebody would perceive you to be the president, chief bottle washer. The only thing you haven't done is participate. So. So it's up to you, but you sure look like you're president.
I had input on that one.
Okay, Ladysmith, I had 1,500.
15.
1,500.
1,500. Get somebody else get. Councillor Arnett, Haunted House.
I have decided that I could support 500. I'd like to give more, but we already giving the number. So this one is the big one. So 500.
I also have 0. The reason being is they donate over $2,000 each year to their muscular dystrophy, and if people want to donate to that, like if the public wants to do it, fine. If they don't, they've given over $2,000 each year without any money. So all that's going to happen is they're going to give more, and if people want to give to that, they should be able to do it on their own.
Zero. For the same reasons, it's not a local fund.
Thank you.
Same with 0.
Yeah, and the same with 0, and it's not because I don't support their fundraising, but it says in our policy that it should be for benefit of local organizations.
0. 0 it is. Laugh Mindfulness Matters Program. Councillor Fraden.
0. Same.
Same.
0.
I'm gonna say 1,000.
And I said 0. 0. Laugh. Yes.
We need to declare our conflict, because my granddaughter
I think so.
No. Councillor Friesen.
$25.
25? Councillor Patterson?
Who, me?
Yes.
25.
25.
I had 5.
5? I had 4. 25? 5? And it's done. So it's, sorry, yes, you were first. So it's 4 for 25? LAF Food Security Program, Councillor Patterson.
That was number 18 was my notes. They're looking for funding for staff, and I just feel that we shouldn't be paying money for staff, so I have 18, I have 0.
Councillor Henderson?
I'm hoping there are adequate donations on this, and again, with the wages being a considerable part of the budget, I'm going to say 0.
Mayor Stone?
I was going to go with what I had was 1,000.
And I have 1,000 as well. Councillor Net?
I have 0 because looking at that, it seems to me that where they would look for some funds for that is the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction initiative that's going.
Thank you. Councillor Frady?
0.
0 it is. Ladysmith Community Garden Society, Councillor Henderson.
$200.
Mayor Stone?
500.
I have
Bidding it
1,000.
up.
Mr. Chair, I do believe that the town, we do maintenance there with lawn cutting. Did we not put a hydro service in too? And I believe we put up water hookups for this group, but I had 200.
Thank you.
I have 5.
5?
I have $1,000. The Kinsman put the pole and everything in for them, yeah.
Okay, can the 1,000 come down and the 200 come up? Because we have 2, 2, and 3, yes.
Who pays for the actual hydro itself for that?
Yeah.
Does the town pay for the hydro for the community garden, or does the community garden society pay for it? Okay.
What's the average?
That would be 3,000, 4,000. 600?
700.
I know, 600, is that okay?
650.
Anybody have any objections to Councillor Henderson's 650? 650 it is. Ladysmith Celebration Society. No. I think Councillor Net does an appropriate amount of volunteering for his initiative. Ladysmith, who is starting this one? This is Mayor Stone. I had 8.
8.
8.
8.
8.
8 it is. Couch and Family Caregiver Society, I had no pressure. 750.
I had 250.
I had 5.
750.
I had 5.
5.
So we have 2 at 750, 3 at 5, and 2 at 50. I think we've given this this initiative 750. And it is an incredibly needed service in our community. And, if you know anybody that's been a caregiver, how detrimental it is to their own personal health. So this society, and especially for youth caregivers as well. So anyway, 3 at 750, 3 at 500. And you'll come up to 750? Okay, 4 at 750. St. Philip's Anglican Church Open Table. Now on the page it should read 500 and then changing to 1,000. I said 500.
500.
500.
500.
500.
Okay. Couch and Social Planning Society. Mayor Stone, before I go around the table, do we not pay, give a $30,000 a year CBRD grant to Social Planning Couch?
Yes, I would have to confirm what the number is presently, but that has been the number in the past. This is specifically, though, is it not around the Rain Barrel program, which they asked us for some tacit support of? So this was the funding for the Ladysmith specific Rain Barrel event around water conservation, and talking with communications staff at the time, this was a big opportunity for them to help raise the conversation around sustainable practices, conserving water, how you water your plants and stuff in the gardens. And actually this would actually result building for this cost of 25 rain barrels to be installed in our community. So I just want people to be aware of that. So if you look, this is the budget that's here, it's so they have 25 to 50 rain barrels, plumbing taps, threaded adapters. This is how to make and paint as a family function rain barrels for people to take home with them and utilize in their gardens at home. So the whole thrust of this was to help drive home responsible water usage and the conservation and preservation of water. So just keep in mind, this is not a social planning couch and usual function. This is a social planning couch and Ladysmith specific initiative around rain barrels and water conservation. What? That's what the application's for.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it stemmed from a study that they did throughout the couch.
Yes,
Yeah.
but this is a Ladysmith specific event. This isn't
That
for
they
social
did.
planning couch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're in the budget, there's 25 to 50.
Okay, Councillor Arnett, I think you're starting with this one.
I have zero as much. I really struggle with this because of it is water. But when I look at some of the other causes we have to find money for that are direct human social support or, you know, mitigating misery, I just felt that we maybe should be looking at another way of supporting them somehow, either through the watershed board or I'm not sure exactly how. Not getting the idea, but it's not something that when you lay down some of the other issues that we have in the community, it is a long-term water issue, but and it's zero. I'll just stop there.
Thank you. Zero.
Well, when I looked at it, and it was, they wanted us to pay the whole shot, I'm not in favor of it. There is a paid a paid director there. The cost, as I estimate it, for the water barrels is $1,500, and it is a water conservation program. It is happening in Ladysmith, even though it stemmed from college and planning through whatever arm. I think the idea of using water barrels is a good idea. So I went $1,500 to cover the cost of the water barrels, and hopefully it will be something that the rest of the community picks up on.
Councillor Henderson?
So a bit struck by the price per water barrel that could result in, where you could encourage people to purchase one. I'd like to see that money go into other ways of conserving water and promoting things like drip irrigation and conservation. So I like social planning couch a lot, but I can't support that particular use.
Thank you.
So I just want to, and I'm fine with the group's recommendation, but there's not a single penny for a single staff member in this budget that accounts for the $3,000. So I'm not sure what.
I looked in there, it said a director.
Well, in their overall financials, but not on the project for the Ladysmith rain barrel thing. So it was itemized in there, and you know, they priced out from local suppliers, ABS threaded tap $1.48, plumbing tap $13. So I just want to be clear, we can't be saying misinformation to support our decision. I actually only had it down there for $2,000, but it should be clear that they put a budget that was exactly down to the penny from local suppliers to acquire these pieces, and more of the function of it was the awareness raising and a family activity where they would paint and build these rain barrels themselves. So, but I had 2,000.
And I had a 0, so 0 it is. Ladysmith Maritime Society. Doesn't your wife have a boat down there?
Probably not voting on it. I want to.
Councillor Fraden.
1,500.
15.
15.
1,500.
And I had 15 as well. And Snamus First Nations have not requested anything this year.
Question.
They don't normally put in an application.
We always get, the last 2 years, we've gotten something late.
We didn't get anything last year.
No,
Aboriginal Days. Aboriginal Days.
So, somebody has not asked for something.
It's just, typically there's not a request received at the time, so we just have the funds aside in case the request.
Okay, so the waiving the fees, is that, so we had, typically we have something like $3,000 or $4,000 left over in the budget by the time we finish, and we use that to waive fees, and we use that. So would that money from last year's leftovers gone to pay the $1,200? We didn't plan to spend $1,200 that wasn't asked for, did we? We just built it into a contingency.
Yeah, last year there was a direction to actually keep a reserve.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Knapp?
Well, it just seems to me that in terms of our commitment to reconciliation and working together as one, that we should make literally a public statement that every year we will commit to Aboriginal Days, whether we're asked to or not. That would be the town expressing its will that intends to acknowledge that.
Yeah. So what do you want to do with this line item? Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like, I guess, make a motion that we set aside $1,200 for Aboriginal Day. Support.
Seconded by Mayor Stone. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. 1,200 it is. Waiving fees.
1,200.
Waiving fees. Any objections to that being at 2,500? Okay. So with that at $2,500,
$200 left. No, we got 2,700. Oh, 2,700 after, so.
Whatever the.
Let's say 2,000 for
no, the 2,500 from Mid-Isle Soccer is it within the 2,500?
Saying if we really look at it though, is it 2,500 or did we say it was going to be closer to 2,000 for 2 days of trolley rental?
Yeah, so that we leave out of the waiving the fees, so it'll be $500 left over if they use 2,000.
Oh, okay. So you're okay. So sorry, don't put anything in there.
He's the chair.
I think we should put a limit on it.
Of what?
$1,000.
Whoa. Sorry. Okay. So they want the trolley rental, so you're proposing a limit?
$1,000.
So $1,000 for how much is it an hour?
$100 an hour. Yeah, no.
Yes.
Can I make a comment that, did we not already approve the trolley rental at the last council meeting when they were here? We approved that we would give them the trolley.
I thought we forwarded it to here.
Did we, was it forwarded
We
to here?
said it would be grants and
If we waive the fee, does that end up coming in here? The cost to the, yes.
Yes. Go ahead.
1,000.
You you want to limit it to 2,000?
I don't want to limit it, but if we also have, we're down to,
Remember, we already approved the 2,500. So this
okay,
is.
okay, 2,500. No, that's the 2,500 for
Waiving
the
fees.
waiving fees. But if we,
And the first waiving fee is the trolley rental for the soccer.
but then there's no fees for anybody else.
Can I make a suggestion, Mr. Chair, if I may?
Yep.
If we look at our budget, we have $2,700 left in our budget, including the 2,500 waiving fees. We need to put the 1,500 in is already in for the bursary, so we have 2,700 left right now in our budget. Why don't we set waiving of fees for this year, including the Mid-Isle Soccer Club, at $4,000?
Second.
And we still have $1,200 left in our budget, some by the grace of God.
Anybody have any objections to waiving the fees from changing it from 2,500 to 4,000? And that will include the trolley rental for the. Okay, the waiving fees is now proposed to be at 4,000, and we're deleting that line item for the Mid-Island Soccer because we're just saying they're going to get and it may be $1,800 bill, it may be $600 bill, it may be $2,600 bill.
We still have $1,200.
We don't have to spend it all. You can get down to this stage without.
Mr. Patterson.
Thank you. I think Mid-Island Soccer is great, but taking waiving of fees down to $1,500 if they use the full 2,500 does limit other groups that have used that waiving fees. I would like to see us put a limit on what Mid-Island Soccer trolley rental should be, and even if it's $2,000, it does. Do you have the figures through to the what we used in waiving of fees last year? Did we go over?
But this is a 2-day event that starts Saturday morning, and as I've been part of it several years, but I know we're not eating supper there Sunday night. We're home. This is not 20 hours. 20 hours is $2,000. So.
But you're gonna get 16 hours of it.
My concern is that we use up funds or activities that other organizations have, become accustomed to. That's all my concern is. If we put all our eggs in one basket, or a good portion of them.
Well, there's a very good chance that even after their use, we'll have the same amount of money, or just under that we had for the whole year last year.
Okay.
Okay, anybody want to revisit any of the numbers? Our financial officer indicated that you do have $1,200 left over.
Sit on it.
Can we just?
I think we should hold it for contingency because every year we do have somebody come along, and they're not huge requests sometimes, but they're critical requests. So I'd like to leave the 1,200 where it is for now for contingency.
Anybody have any objections to that? Okay. This will be revisited at the council meeting, I'm sure. So, is there a motion? Sorry.
No, I'm just checking, because I was trying to set this one, that wasn't, it's money for trolley. Anyway.
Could we have, now that this is done for the next go-round, a roll-up with a new sheet in terms of decisions that we made if we're revisiting them?
Yeah, we would be, okay. So what would be delivered to council when this comes forward?
The recommendation, this list with the amounts, and
also show what they requested?
Not typically. We can
Okay.
include that if you'd like.
Could we?
As a report, not part of the recommendation, yes.
Okay, City Manager, do you need a resolution from this committee to send this to council now?
That's all right, I was just concerned about one of them that's thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moved by Mayor Stone, seconded by Councillor Henderson, that Social Services recommend to council.
Well, I guess you can make the recommendation and then I never saw that.
City Manager, we have a public input and question period at this point.
As this is part of the financial plan deliberations, it's just kind of open. It was just opportunity.
Thank you. And so do we actually pass the recommendations first and then ask for the input, so they'll be considered by council, or?
Your Worship, I would first suggest that you hear if anyone wants to speak, and then you pass a recommendation. Yeah.
Is there any members of the public that want to speak on any one of these items to council? Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Just, I appreciate that. Just a couple of quick questions. You're granting lieu of trolley fees as part of grants and aid, but you've got no applications for the required money. So is it really part of the money that should be in the grant and aid funds, or should it be a separate entity unto itself? Because if you're saying grant and aid funds, we're going to hypothetically have applications come in for the use of the trolley or waiving fees on various subject matters. So that's the question I have. Should it necessarily be reflected in the grants and aid? The second one is, just as a point of information, the Cauchy Valley Caregivers, I believe one of the founders of that was a guy named, what's his name? Harvey. Grant Harvey. And he passed away. And Garth Harvey. A major driving force of that. If you like what they do, you see what it is.
So in response to your first question, we actually one time would be receiving requests for waiving the trolley fee, and we had no way to allocate that funds because it wasn't our grant and aid, and we actually use sometimes public relations funds to do that. Council had about a $5,000 public relations grant. However, I'm trying to say 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we staff recommended, look, we have these ongoing requests for waiving of fees, and it could be the use of Aggie Hall, it could be the use of FJCC, or in this case, the trolley. And so we started allocating a set amount. It would be giving direction to staff that not that money isn't available for everybody to receive this, and it was on a first come, first served basis.
This one question. For the Canada World Youth Soccer, is the fees for the fields being waived also? Is that the other part of the $2,500?
I can't speak to that, but there is certain discretion by the Director of Parks and Rec to deal with that matter. That's not a council issue.
So therefore it could be another $1,000 worth of waived fees.
I think at this moment they're not asking for that on the grants and aid application that you have in front of you. You can probably check the application, Mayor Stone, but I don't believe that's part of the what they're asking for.
Mr. Nichol.
Yeah, I've just got one question. I sent a letter to the mayor and yourself with regards the all the logs floating in the harbor there. I just wondered if anything was. I never got any response. I wasn't quite sure.
Input on grant.
No, it was. I don't know if I'm out of order bringing
You're
this
out of
up.
order, but that's okay. The mayor will get back to you on that as soon as he can. Go dig that letter out and find out where it went.
I thought I talked to you about it actually, but
Yeah.
then it must have been one of the several other people that complained about.
Sure,
it
if you can,
a couple
I'll
months
be
or
brief.
so.
Yeah.
You guys feeling okay?
I get probably 30
No?
emails a year
Are you
about the
feeling
logs
okay?
in the
Just
harbor, and I think
The
that
drug is
Councillor Hutchins or Mayor Hutchins probably got several a year as well.
Yeah.
It's something we engage with Western Forest Products every time we sit down and meet and talk about it, and Chief and Council as well with Burley. But yeah, it's an ongoing issue, and better times than others. It was a bad time recently, so
Yeah.
we're working on it.
Okay, great.
Okay, any other public input on the grants and aid? Seeing none, we have a recommendation by Mayor Stone and Councilor Henderson to recommend those grants and aid to council. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
This is just like this next agenda item is just like him moving resolutions.
Okay, free salt to residents, Mayor Stone.
Well, we had a discussion about it, so it ended up on the agenda. I'll leave it to the city manager to discuss, but there's been an ongoing challenge with the free salt. No disagreement that it's a great thing, and it's a long-established benefit and amenity, I guess, that we offer in the community to help keep our sidewalks safe. But it has been posing a challenge, especially over the last couple of years when we've been up against our contingencies, even some of our reserves for snow and ice removal. That those weekends where we luckily don't have a snowfall, which seems they've always been falling on weekends, but when they don't and they have cold weather, the ice, the salt is running out, and then the complaints come in. So the staff is being called in on weekends to refill the box of salt out in front of Public Works yard, to keep it available for people, and it's costing us money. So I believe that's the gist of it.
Yeah, so
The staff's looking for some direction moving forward on how we handle
yeah, I mean,
free ice. The ice is always free.
Yeah, ice is free. Yeah, Mr. Chair, Mayor Stone is correct. The issue, really the challenge for staff is not the cost of the salt. The cost of the salt that is causing the box is insignificant compared to what we spend on the streets. But if it happens on a weekend, and the expectation of this council is that that box is going to be full for residents to use, then I have to call in somebody to fill them up if it happens on the weekends, and that normally costs about a 4-hour call out, and it could happen many times during the weekend. In some cases, that box gets empty fairly quickly. It's really well used in the community. It is the only community in the CVRD that does this service. So the reason why we brought it up is for expectations for council about if you really want that service, is have to implement something that that has a call out on the weekends to be able to fill it up to an acceptable level.
Well, I'm usually hesitant to provide anecdotal references, but I have heard from 2 or 3 people over some snow events that the majority of people utilize that and are very grateful for it, and use it with some people have observed people literally filling their trunks with this sort of thing. And I think that's part of the problem in terms of the call-up things.
Councilor Friedenham.
Yeah, memory serves me, we always used to fill that thing last thing on a Friday night, and I've never had to fill it on a weekend. And I would suggest that if it's empty, somebody phones in, there's no salt, sorry, you'll have to wait till Monday.
And that's the reason why I'm here. If there's the expectation of council that does, you can live with that level of service, then we will proceed that. We will proceed accordingly.
So it's pretty rare that salt isn't available in the community when it runs out. So we have several distributors of it. Home Hardware, I know I've bought many bags down there. So so do you need direction from council? I honestly didn't know that it was a call-out matter. I just assumed when it ran out, and then...
That's why we're to municipal services to have the discussion, so we can have an open discussion about do you want the service, and if council is okay for me to put in a sign saying salt is not going to be available when it's empty, then I'm okay with that as well. I mean, this also could happen on a weekday as well, right? In a weekday, sometimes our guys... Let me put it this way. None of the guys' job description is to go and fill up the box. So if there's a lot of work to be done on the community removing snow and ice, and the box is empty, I have to send someone to stop that work and fill up the box. That has a cost to the community. So I could definitely go ahead and put a sign saying if the box is empty, we'll fill it up at the earliest convenience, and it doesn't fill up on the weekends, and that would be probably the service that the community will expect. I just want to make it clear what is the intent of this council for that service that we have been providing for many years.
Does anybody have any objections to the city manager's take on that matter? Go for a sign? But can we not somehow say salt is also available?
Absolutely, we can probably. I think that's a recommendation of the mayor actually, to put where you can buy salt when the box is empty. It is already. The thing is, the opening of the box is fairly large, so some people can really shovel things out. Maybe we need to make it really small, so you can put a. I'm kidding.
So, do we have for town of Ladysmith residents on that sign too?
Yes. But of course, Mr. Chair, we can really police or control it, right? So it's yeah.
That salt box is on the street, is it?
Yeah, just right outside the public works yard. So on the other side of the gate, so people can access anytime, right next to the parking.
Is it too mean-minded to suggest it could go in the yard where somebody could see what's in the
We would like to have members of the public going inside our yard for security reasons. They will have to wear protective gear, and so it just brings a whole set of complications.
Okay, 6.3, I can't read my own writing, but I think it says garden suites. Councilor Arnett.
I just wanted to bring to people's attention that we're involved currently on considering coach houses in the current area, and Saanich, the TC.
Sorry, Councilor Arnett.
Shall I continue, or do you want to wait? You may know that Mayor Atwell and his council in Saanich are doing the same thing, and so I think there's a beginning of a trend. What I found really interesting is that their notion of, we've said we've looked at coach houses, and people have a view of what a coach house is. When I thought of some of the use of adding additional housing for elderlies, and I thought of what I called a granny suite, which was back in Ontario some years ago, the trend. And they're looking at, so that people get a view of it's not just a traditional coach house we're looking at in terms of the ones we built. Many of them are two-story, etc. And it gives you a false view of really what a lot of this is meant. So they're talking about garden suites, and they had some examples of what a garden suite looks like. And a garden suite reflected to me the kind of idea that we have for expanding beyond some of the discussions we've had, Councillor Chair. Much more of a garden suite, granny suite kind of an area, and I just think it's important to be thinking about that kind of languaging and some of the imagery and some of the designs that have come out for those that are distinctly different from a sort of a traditional view of what a coach house is. Thanks.
Councilor Fraser.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I believe maybe staff could maybe look this up, that I believe the City of Oak Bay has just passed a garden suite bylaw. So maybe we could get something from them and just see what that is. I know they're I believe it's passed, but if staff could check on that.
City manager taking note of that.
Yep.
Mayor Stone.
Actually, at the consultation, one of the community meetings, Councillor Arnett brought this up, and it got me thinking. So I went to look, and there was an email, a specific email, and without discussing it at this moment, that talked about sort of to the right, or the offensiveness of even considering this. and so I look back at what our neighbors were doing, other municipalities, more even close by. And 2008, Nanaimo went through and they called it a garden suite or a granny suite. And then they did also reference coach house, but there was sort of these different form and character pieces that said the majority will be garden suites, and garden suites are permitted in these areas, and coach houses were an option where the garage existed with the within all the framework that I think that we had passed for the downtown area. But it was funny how it seemed to create a different picture in somebody's mind that the majority of these are in fact garden suites. They're a small accessory dwelling for a single or a couple to be able to provide affordability either for the homeowner or for the young people or the aging people themselves, right? So the granny suites or garden suites were often them, and the coach houses were more rare, that they also had to abide by height restrictions and view and overlook and some of the things that we've had discussed in anticipation of it. But I think it's important to note that the coach house does create the image of the over garage garden suite, right? So it's much more massive and a little bit more offensive. And if you look at the coach house that was just discussed down the roadway here, that's quite a small, that's more of a garden suite. But when I hear coach house, I again thought, oh, they're putting a garage behind it with a suite over top. So I think it's a valid point that that maybe we look at sort of separating the definition of the two if we in fact do move forward on them outside of the downtown core.
So, Ms. Adams, if you correct me if I'm wrong, but the original rendition of going forward with the coach houses, garden suites, we were looking at single story garden suites. However, through the public process that we had, there was tremendous feedback saying no, they wanted to have the opportunity for second story. So that's what originally we were going with garden suites, single story.
Yeah, we talked about single story, and then both in the community input there was discussion of having them above garages. Also, there was discussion about 2 floors, and that was narrowed down, and the sort of that middle was what we went with in the downtown.
Yes, sir. This brings up another interesting point, though. When you talk about that compromise between 2 living floors versus garage over or garage under, suite over, we're really talking about impacts on neighborhoods. When you allow a garage under and a suite over, the question begs, okay, why don't we allow 2-floor living? Well, then it talks about the amount of people and the impact on the neighborhood and the number of cars, and now you're not providing parking, but you're providing a mass structure that's big enough that a family could live in it, right? So, but I think that, you know, over time, this is definitely not a discussion for what remains in this term, but I think we need to keep our eyes open to some of the trends out there and be open to other ideas around if they fit within our height restrictions and our size restrictions and our floor size restrictions, because that's what really limits the number of people that would live in a garden suite or a coach house, that we consider more innovative layouts perhaps, you know, front and back rather than up and above or above and below. But questions for another day and another council, I think. But for now, I think it's good to have the conversation around what the reasons are for those potential expansion of garden suites and coach houses, and that form and character, we would want to protect it.
The topic that's coming up for the coach houses, or whatever we're going to call them, has been a hot topic in different places, and there have been some good studies done, and I'm just wondering if there's any awareness of this process that's been dubbed structured decision-making tools, which was implemented by a team from UBC 5 years after the laneway houses in Vancouver were brought in, and their decision or their conclusions, weighing all of the impacts on the neighborhood, was that 1 story is the way to go. Everything else may be wonderful for the owner of the property, but for those in the neighborhood it is not wonderful. And so I think that we should look at some of these things that have been well researched, and especially when there's considerations of right in the middle of a block without any lanes, as there are in the old downtown. And if street parking in this town doesn't get some sort of control over it, it's gonna look like a car lot more than a neighborhood.
Thank you. Okay, any more discussion on that item? And I'm sure we'll have further discussion as the public process goes forward. Okay, last item for us is there is no correspondence. 8.1, discussion regarding the potential banning of single-use checkout bags. Before we get into how, is there an appetite for us to consider this? Councilor Mann?
First of all, I want to thank the staff for a really comprehensive report in terms of the experiences. I personally am not ready to move forward into this until we're absolutely sure that moving forward we mitigate against the considerable list of unintended consequences that can rise if we move forward without being thoughtful about how we're moving forward. I was astounded at some of the stuff that was in.
So I'm not quite sure you answered my question. Do you have an appetite to move forward as we mitigate, or no appetite?
I have an appetite to move forward with appropriate mitigation.
Thank you. Councillor, we're just going around table.
I'm in favor of moving forward with like some consultation done with the LDBA people and like the town who staff to that group, and also just to sort of maybe take a step back and see how City of Victoria is doing with theirs. With the, I know they're going through some litigation issues with that, and as I said before, I do believe there's something within the community charter regarding the cost, how they can enforce that. Anyway.
I also think we should be moving forward, but before we do, we should have consultation with the store owners who are going to be really affected by this.
Thank you. I agree moving forward with it. I think probably store owners might be happy about it because it will save them, from what I can understand, it will save them some money. Just wondering about looking at a regional process through the whole CVRD and do it on a regional basis.
I'm definitely for going ahead with it, and the sooner the better. I think that taking the studies that have been done in other places and reanalyzing them won't change any of the facts around this as a source of pollution, and that if we can get the educational piece out there and people can change their habits and bring their bags, that it's not exactly a huge ask. In fact, I think it's a gift.
I'm absolutely in favor. I think that it's indisputable the impacts those have. But again, I just think we need to actually ask our businesses. I think that based on my experience, we probably got a better chance to at least be able to ask those businesses and get support from them. I think this is the kind of community, and the businesses that we have here are the kind that would say, you know what, yeah, you're right. You know, all we have to do is provide the staff report to them if they have questions. There's a good amount of information in here. And, you know, I thought a lot about, and I brought this up, like Victoria being sued. I think that if we do that thing and get our businesses to say, you know what, we're in support of this, it would be pretty hard to bring a legal challenge to a small town like this. However, I'm always wary of the fact that if we do have to defend ourselves, proportionally that cost is much higher than it would be for a Victoria. So we should watch what Victoria does, consult with the local business, and then I'm all in favor of moving forward.
Could I just ask a question what the lawsuit involves?
I don't know, Your Worship, Mr. Chair, but I know that Victoria has been a third reading on the bylaw and probably didn't pass adoption because of that reason. So I'm trying to get that information when report back to council. That's why it's not here as an addition to these reports. So.
So I am totally supportive of also moving forward with this, and I'm just wondering, like, and I totally agree that the first base should be the downtown business associations, but the association does include all our businesses that use bags, and so somehow we have to expand that, whether it's a joint meeting of the chamber as well as the downtown business association. So, Mayor, who is the representative on the
Thursday, I'll be going up on Thursday, and I will be bringing it up if that's something. I already did it the last one.
Councillor Knapp?
May I suggest that the body of the report be provided to those two groups for their thoughtful consideration and informed feedback? Thank you.
So, very good support here, but cautionary approach as we ensure we include our community. Councillor Henderson?
At what point would a motion be made on this?
It could be made it right now. Say that the matter be referred to the Chamber of Commerce and the Downtown Business Association.
I was
But we're not making
meaning-
it to council because they're going forward now, and we're not going to wait till council. It's a committee work.
No.
This is homework for council.
I wasn't moving that goes to a group. I was moving to ban non-reusable bags. But that,
I
is it
think that
another
motion
time?
would not be appropriate because we heard so many people say, let's be cautious as we go forward. Let's get some more information. Commence, not all of it, commence. With overture to downtown business and an overture to the chamber, and then we'll get that feedback at the next meeting. Seconded by Councillor Friedman. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. We have a motion to adjourn the municipal services meeting, moved by Mayor Stone, seconded by Councillor Patterson. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. And 5-minute break before we go in. Yes.
Quick question for you, Rob. One little entity doing this by itself, shouldn't this be a broader scope, a very minimum CVRD, or you've got the ABICC coming up, that's where it should be addressed because they're going to have a greater impact. The impact that you're going to have environmentally, stopping the problem in Ladysmith, it's not even a drop in the bucket. It's a symbolic motion. It's a lot like Ladysmith going, we're a nuclear-free zone. You know, it's warm fuzzy, but will it work?
So in 1995, we were the first community to institute universal recycling, door to door.
Yep.
We didn't wait for the rest of the CBRD. They followed us. Yep. In 2003 or 2006 was it? We were the first community to introduce organic collection in Western Canada. So if we waited for everybody else, we would be behind. So,
but you brought it to the front, and the thing is, if you bring the ABICC to the front, because what we did as a community in regards to organic waste, in the total picture of the problem, was minor. But where the impact was in getting everybody else on board. So we're more effective if we bring people on board in regards to spreading the area of involvement.
The leadership is also about breaking new ground, demonstrating that this is effective, that people are actually engaged in it, and Rob, we can discuss this many times over. So
Vanguard's already going to Victoria and that stuff now.
They don't start until July 1st.
You know how big a snowflake is and then what causes an avalanche?
You gotta make the snowflake first.
If we act quickly, we
Right.
can be first.
Are you looking at the?
No, they're kicking us out. See, we're back in the camp.
We're here too, yeah, we finished. Oh, project director hours, oh, you're right, I'll publicly apologize to you.
No, you won't.
No, I won't, but
No.
I'll tell you that, no, it's easy. Oh, jeez, you just hit your own face.
Well, if you hadn't screwed up,
I'm an intern party.
Shirley said that you're helping with moving the assembler or something?
yeah, that was gonna happen today. I told you about that.
Yeah, but it keeps getting
Yeah,
but
and now
she
it's
said maybe
supposed-
tomorrow?
It's supposed to happen more afternoon. I've got all sorts of stuff. I told you about that guy from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Well, he's showing up tomorrow. I gotta take the last ambassador's picture that I'm not involved in.
Well, just if it's gonna happen, just give me a ring.
Yeah, I'll phone you. The boiling of the wool is now gonna be at 11:15 at
Wednesday, right?
Wednesday at the machine shop.
Okay.
Or, well, across the street.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good. Okay.
Okay.
Some guy from Cedar truck load.
Oh, yeah.
said, you did what? And I said,
Who was that guy?
oh, this guy was from Cedar. He was loading his pickup. And told, he had the gall to tell me. I just went,
We have a town employee that lives in the diamond that goes up there and gets it and gives it to his neighbors.
this guy was doing it. He has a big long driveway.
But this guy's a town employee
kidding, where it's a sort of spoon, right? Like a scoop, yeah?
that goes hunting,
So 4 scoops
builds a